Okay, let's get this thing rolling. All right. This is Mike Phalin with Dread Central, and today we have with us a director who is bringing us a horror movie that's kind of a horror movie in disguise. It's called Acid Pink. With us today is Miss Val Vega. How are you doing tonight, Miss Vega?
Great. How are you?
I am doing wonderful, thank you. When I saw that email come through for the screener, it said that it is a horror movie kind of in disguise. Could you tell me a little bit about that?
Well, I like tricking people into believing that what they're watching is not really what they're watching. And I enjoy contrast.
Hmm.
I think it's the element of surprise because in life, that's how it is. We don't know when something is going to happen at all. And I think that element is so important in scary films, in horror, especially because you shouldn't know when you're scared. You're just scared. That is true fear to me. Acid Pink mixes between girly, like baby girl colors and what right now is very in a lot of girls my age. Like I'm 22, I'm a millennial, and I dress all in black, which is very funny. But all of my friends who are also brilliant creatives, um, and they teach me about everything that's pink and everything that's beautiful, and all of those things are so important right now. So I use that as almost like a fantasy of perfection, pretty much. Um, yeah.
When it comes to the horror genre, usually red is our color, or red and black, and pink is kind of it's such the opposite of that because it has that connotation for I don't want to say submissive, and I don't want to really say girly because that's kind of insulting, but it's much more it's softer. It's much softer. So how do you turn that into horror that will scare people?
Well, I don't want to give away the surprise, but I think that sometimes for a woman, the way that I started, because me being a woman and me being growing up in this very hard um, time that we're growing up in, Latina, being Latina to Puerto Rican. I don't know if a lot of most women identify with like Sofia Vergara and all this beautifulness of what all of that is, and all this beauty and all this glamour. And that's what I wanted to contrast because sometimes glamour can be scary. I identify a lot with Pedro Almodovar, which he's a Spanish director, and he uses all these pinks, reds, yellows, and they're almost like a very European style of film where beauty is the essence, but sometimes beauty is not that beautiful.
Hmm.
Society does push us to be beautiful. So that's like what I use as my inspiration of what beauty is, and that's why I use pink because most women it pink is that like essence of beauty, and that's why I want me being a woman. That's why I wanted to show that. It's gonna be frightening for anybody, but pink, I think it's almost like a laughable like color to use. Like it's interesting. It's a different tone, pretty much.
Can you give us a general synopsis of what acid pink is without giving too much away?
Yeah, acid pink. Have you ever been alone at night and you just feel so scared in the middle of the night and you're alone and you don't know what to do? You have absolutely no one to take care of you. And it's that fear of you alone in your room. What are you going to do? You don't know who's with you, especially when the lights go out. Who's there? And that is what acid pink is what are you going to do when it's all dark and when it's all not, what everything is not beautiful. And I know it's a very vague description,
Hmm.
but it's a very vague movie. It's more of those things where you just have to watch
Hmm.
and go through the experience of it. It's more of an experience movie than anything else. I like dividing things in three acts. I always have. I enjoy you watching or understanding that you're watching one piece first, second piece and third. Um, and every single piece is completely different, but you're in the moment through everything. And I want Acid Pink to be an experience for the viewer.
Hmm.
That's what it is. Um, it should be an intimate experience of you and yourself in the darkness with nowhere to go.
Those those feelings that you're trying to pull out of the viewer, do those come from a personal feeling that you've had in the past?
Well, I have definitely have frightening nights where
Hmm.
I lived I've lived in many places in LA and in Puerto Rico. I'm Puerto Rican, and especially in Puerto Rico, when the lights go out, the lights go out. It's not like in the city. You cannot see anything around you. You're completely in the dark. And I come, and this is, sounds super weird, but I actually come from a family that's used to be deeply into voodoo
Hmm.
back in the day, coming from an island and whatnot. And my grandmother used to always tell me super deep in the night that she used to hear voices that used to talk to her in the dark.
Hmm.
And I kind of used that as almost as an inspiration too, in contrast with what Acid Pink is. So at least the color and the beauty of it all, the contrast of it all is that fear at night that you get, and sometimes we hear. I mean, if you live in an old house, you hear some crackings in the woods. You don't know if that's your house or if that's
Hmm.
the floor, if that's your neighbor, is that someone that's next to you? Who knows? And I think that that's what, it's a real fear that we all go through at 3 in the morning, and we're like, oh my God, it's frightening.
Is that to say that our imagination is our greatest enemy?
Oh yes, for sure. Our imagination is for sure our greatest enemy. But it could be our greatest friend. Who knows?
Hmm.
Hmm.
Um, this film is actually your first directorial debut, right?
Hmm. Well, I co-directed it.
Okay.
It's crazy. The story is, I originally am an actress
Hmm.
who got pretty bored with being an actress. So I wrote this feeling that I this this horrifying feeling, and I turned it into this film. And I collaborated with these amazing creatives. And I co-directed it with Robert Anthony Jacobs, who is a Italian designer, and he has a great eye. And then the music, which I think this film specifically is all about sound and the mood and how it makes you feel, was David Lee Adams, who does music for Elation. So I can't say that I did it by myself. I mean, I really can't. I couldn't have done this without really happen. Um, Chris Cash that taped the whole thing was pretty insane. And I couldn't have done this without the people I did it with. But it is a directorial review, and I, I have fallen in love with this amazing thing of collaborating with such great people and making people scared and making people say, "Oh my God!" And it's great. I think that it's interesting because I never thought that so many people would have like a reaction, but it not being a like, "Oh my God, that's so beautiful," but also being like, "Oh my God, I feel scared," and like that feeling, it's awesome.
I think we lost you there for a second.
You lost me. Oh no,
Just for
it's
a
okay.
second. Just for a second. I think I think I got the most. I think I missed the last like two words of your statement.
Oh, okay. No, I was just saying that it's a beautiful thing to know that you can do work and scare people, and I mean that's a success. Making a
Mhm.
scary film and actually I edited it, which is insane. But I was editing it and I was listening to the music at home and I completely blacked everything out and I was frightened of myself. And I think that's a great thing. That I think that's a great sign.
Have you watched it with others and watched their reactions?
Yeah, it's amazing. It's a great feeling seeing people freaked out for what they're watching and hearing. Again, acid is, I think that what makes Acid Pink so great is not just the visuals but the sound. Honestly, I really like completely black out and making you feel like you're living the moment.
Can you tell us a little bit about the sound design?
Well, the sound was all done by David Lee Adams, and the beginning two parts of the film were, musically done by him. The third part was all taped Halloween night, actually. I do the voices. I did the voiceovers for it, and I do both myself and the entity that's in the room, and it was a lot of fun. I mean, it's frightening. I never thought that would come out, in the moment, but it did. And I don't know. It was done super simple and with a goal, and I think it's beautifully done.
Did you make any compromises when you started creating this film?
Not really. Funny enough, I could have,
Mm-hmm.
being low budget and whatnot, but I really didn't. I'm very strict with quality, so I didn't allow compromises. To be honest with you,
Good.
Yeah, that's great. But we shot it, the first two parts we shot it the same day. They're completely contrasting. It almost feels like three different films. The third part was in Halloween. And as odd as it seemed, it just fit all together. It was almost like step by step, it fit. There were really not many struggles with the film either. It was just a lot of really passionate people that got together and believed in my crazy idea. I had to show them a lot of videos first, I had to show them, hey, I'm doing this. This is inspired by this. I promise you it's not as nuts as you believe. But, I mean, I found a couple of people that believed in it, so it was awesome.
Did you sit them down all at the same time and just go through it like a slideshow to try to get them to try to sales pitch it?
Oh, hell, yes. I did a little, mood board, and I sent it to the people that I hired first. And funny enough, when we got to set, my director brought Chris Cash, who's a cameraographer, amazing cameraographer, and shot for so many people. And he was so confused what was happening because I shot all of this in a hotel that I booked. I booked this little room that had the aesthetic that I wanted, and he just showed up, and I remember showing him videos like, I promise you, it sounds nuts, but it's gonna look great. It's gonna be great. It sounds crazy, but if you get a little bit crazy with me, it's gonna be awesome. And it's great that people actually went the extra mile. And I think that, we really all created a cool and different film, because I do really think that is very completely different from anything that I've seen. Mm-hmm. The other person that I do get inspired a lot by is Nadia Lee Cohen, who's mm-hmm. actually a photographer, and she does fashion, but she gives it a very almost an evil twist to it. It uses a lot of blood, a lot of red, and almost makes it a little bit scary. So that's I wanted to create that too perfect to be true type of world. You feel a little almost comfortable with what's going on, mm-hmm. type of thing.
So you create kind of like a safe space for the viewer, and then you just bash it.
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly.
So you shot in 2 days, right? 2 days in one hotel room?
Well, I shot one day at a hotel room, mm-hmm. and then I shot the last part in a studio for the ending. And the voice is all the last part was done in the studio.
So did everything just come together perfectly, so you could just get it all done in that tight schedule? So, it was one of those lucky breaks.
I don't even know how I got it all. I don't know how I even got it. Actually, funny enough, because again, I'm 22, and it's as crazy as it sounds, and I just wanted to do it. I just gave myself. I made it like the end of the world. If I don't do it by this time on this day, it's the end of the world. So I had 6 hours to do it, to be honest with you, on the first day, and I didn't know how I did it, but I did it. And it was again, I'm shocked of the fact that it was even able to be done, and it came out such a great piece, because it was done in 6 hours, and
Mm-hmm.
honestly, it's all about communication and working in different sets and knowing so many people and working in movies before. That's the one thing that I learned. I learned that really, if you believe in the people that you work with, and you communicate with them and you give them what you want, it really is able to happen. But I think that the number one thing that made me able to reach my goal was because Robert, my co-director, he is the one person that I've ever met who has the visually the morbid that I want and the beauty that I want, who understands. So finding the team that really works with you, I really think is the goal and the key.
Mm-hmm.
And just a team that know you're crazy, but that trusts your craziness. uh, and I think that was the best thing. Same with the music of it. I don't know anything about music really,
Mm-hmm.
but I trusted the gentleman that did, the music for the film, and I trust him in being. I told him, I want you to be like Trent Reznor, but not really, but be yourself. Like, can you do that? And he's like, yeah. So I was like, I trusted him, and I think and we did it together. I sat through everything with everyone, and I honestly, that's what made it happen. Just the communication, the trusting of your team.
When we talk about making a film that has that kind of Italian beauty to it, stuff like Mario Bava used to do,
Yeah.
and old and '70s style Dario Argento. Do you think that needs to make a resurgence in today's horror genre?
Mm, not necessarily. I think that everybody has their own style of making horror. I enjoy so much Hostel and Saw I even enjoy Cabin in the Woods. That is a little bit comical. I think that every director and creative has their own style. But I personally grew up so much with that European and
Hmm.
that glamour, and I'm so surrounded. Like all my friends are models and photographers, and like it's I kind of mix both because that's who I am. You would never believe that I'm doing horror when I'm walking down the street. Um, so I kind of wanted to mix both of what fashion is right now, or called Scarface and all those movies where there's some frightening to it,
Hmm.
but there's also some beauty to it. So it contrasts. It's just amazing to me.
Well, I guess when you do surround yourself with people that are more concerned about the aesthetics of something
Mm,
versus just storytelling, I
mm.
guess you will get a. I haven't seen that many movies done that way, so I can't really say is it better or worse. But I guess I'll find out when I see yours, so I can have some kind of guide peg. But it seems like a much more interesting way of making a movie when you're looking at strictly from like left brain or right brain.
My mother used to always tell me, and I started watching movies with my mother since I was a child, and she always put all the R-rated ones. She's like, you gotta learn about life through movies. But there's a lot of films that they're so concerned about the aesthetics, they're not concerned about the story.
Hmm.
And there's films that are so concerned about the story, they're not concerned about the aesthetic. And I think that it goes hand to hand. And I like both together, especially on mine,
Hmm.
because I like beauty. I enjoy what is beautiful, but I am also extremely scared by what is scary. And life is like that. Like
Hmm.
we walk through life, and there's days that are fucking fantastic, and there's days that are so terrifying, and you won't even want to move forward. So I wanted to make it more of, even though it's super realistic, or it's all like a Dali or whatever, it's almost it's real, you know.
Hmm.
It's we all go through this.
Now that you have your
Yeah.
first film done, what would be your next project that you'd like to do?
Oh, haha. Well, the next one is I'm gonna focus on clowns and the situation right now is happening with the clowns that are going on.
Hmm.
And I'm very excited about that. Still very aesthetic, very beautiful, but not. Definitely tricking everybody. I love it. I mean, I think it's honestly, it's the highlights right now that I have is creating films. It's as crazy as it sounds. It's a beautiful thing. I think that just putting people together. And are awesome. I mean, I'm frightened by clowns. Since I was a little kid, I couldn't even walk by them. Um, that's probably on my list of top 5 scariest things in the world. But that's a part of it. We have to face our fears. So definitely clowns are next.
Is it a particular type of clown, like the Ringling Brothers style clowns, or are we talking more of the mime clowns?
We're talking about so in 2010 till now, the clowns that we're seeing down the street.
Okay.
um, those are the clowns that frighten me, because if a clown shows up at my house, there's a problem.
Well, if you're going to focus on clowns, what type of story would you like to tell with the clowns that hasn't already been told about? Killer clowns are kind of either get like the really like massacre clowns, or you get something like Pennywise and It, or you get killer clowns from outer space. What avenue would you like to go down with that?
Well, I've always, and I think this is a theme in everything that I'm doing.
Hmm.
I've been really, really, I wouldn't say obsessed, but attracted to the antagonist. I've
Hmm.
always had both the contrast and antagonist during films. I think that we all can connect more with the antagonist than with the hero,
Hmm.
because we're all antagonists at what points of our lives. I, my goal is to create a clown that is related to us and that almost you and I could be, because there is a reason why there are clowns down the street running towards cars, and there's clowns right now taping themselves in surveillance cameras. They're people just like you and I, and I think that that is more frightening than any other type of clown in the world, because when a human being says, I it is for me to do this right now. I'm gonna put on a clown mask and go frighten the peoples. That's a lot more frightening than any other type of clown in the world. So I do like working with like the mind, and working with what putting the viewer in the situation of like, yeah, I could do this for sure. This could be me. Almost like a American Psycho type of thing.
So Patrick Bateman and clown makeup. I guess
Exactly.
the antagonist is really kind of the much more interesting character, because the protagonist is usually always going to survive unless it's a dark comedy or something like that. And
Yeah.
the antagonist always has a better motivation for doing something, not just being good for good's sake.
Well, I just think that as human beings, we all go through because I mean, it's very easy to say, I want to be a hero, I want to do this, I want to do that. But the truth of it all is that it's kind of like our nature to not be heroes. It's our nature to be the evil guy. So I think that that's fascinating to me,
Hmm.
just how we think. Uh, it's not the most positive way, and humans are not always heroes.
Hmm.
Most of the times, they aren't. Hmm.
Even in our classic fables and Bible stories, even most biblical heroes were eventually villains in the end of their story.
Exactly.
Even Hercules at the end turned to be a villain. I mean, he murdered his wife and his children. So those are the stories that are never told, and that's what interests me about what you're talking about now is actually just focusing on that person that could be good, could be like us, but is just a complete bastard.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I love that. I think that that's honestly what motivates me. Because I think that it's very easy to judge somebody else for what they're going through and like, oh, that person did this and did that. But the truth is that we're all a little bit like that,
Hmm.
depending on our situation in our current life. So that's those are the stories that I'm interested in telling for sure. Um, and what I'm gonna keep telling. Even with Acid Pink, you know, Acid Pink can be what I like about Acid Pink is that it's one of those films where I mean it can be whatever you want it to be.
Hmm.
It's up to the viewer. And I mean I've heard so many different like people's opinions about what they thought it was, and I think that's wonderful. Um, but it's the same thing, you know. It's the antagonist is us. I am the antagonist, so are you, and so is all the viewers because we've all done bad things.
Hmm. With Acid Pink, depending on the audience reaction, would you like to explore that movie more and expand on it, or is this your one and done for that story?
Well, you know, for the beauty about Acid Pink is it could definitely become something more.
Hmm.
Um, it could definitely be expanded. Hell, it could be become like the beginning of something new. Um, because Acid Pink was kind of like a beginning of my exploration of what directing was, but it could definitely be expanded. Necessarily, right now, I don't think that is what I want to expand on. It could
Hmm.
change, just because I'm so excited about the clowns, you know. But but apart from clowns, yeah, maybe in the future for sure. I but I don't know. It's more of a I don't want to just put myself on like I'm gonna do this and this and that.
Hmm.
It's more of like what happens, you know. It's almost like an exploration, pretty
Hmm.
much. The clowns are definitely coming.
Yeah. So yeah, you don't want to be
They are. I'm
pigeonholed.
excited for.
You just want to do
No, no, no,
whatever
no.
you just want to do whatever the creative spirit has for you, pretty much.
For sure. I mean, uh, definitely keeping it on antagonists and contrast, because and beauty that
Hmm.
I'm absolutely in love with. Story wise, it can always shift. But right now, fear and clowns are definitely what is attracting to me. Um, Acid Pink was actually written for. The beauty of it was written for the original director I wanted to use. She uses a lot of beauty like that, and I wanted to contrast it with my darkness. But I thought it was so amazing to just keep it, and that's what it became. It also almost became like my version of what beauty is, and contrasted to my version of what fear is,
Hmm.
and that's what made it so wonderful.
What did the production of Acid Pink teach you as a director?
Well, it teach me that to trust myself. Actually, it really did. Because again, it was a crazy idea. It was an insane idea, and I thought that people were gonna laugh at me when I told them about like. I was like, people are gonna think I'm crazy. I'm the. I mean, I'm 5'3", 22, tiny, and this girl talking about this like beautiful horror film, you know, and it really taught me to just trust myself and what I wanted to do, and to just see that what I could have in mind be turned into something that was actually good. And it was awesome to have a group of people that would just come together, especially in Los Angeles,
Hmm.
because I living in Los Angeles where I am right now. There's so many creatives of many ages and many paths in life, and just to know that I have that accessibility of using wonderful people that are just hungry to do something that they're actually very passionate about and different was amazing. Um, because most people just are doing what they're being paid to do,
Hmm.
not what being paid but passionate of doing. And that was amazing, just having people that gave their 100%.
I can attest that living on the East Coast in Florida here, when I want to put a project together, it is very difficult to find the people I need for it. I can find a few, and I'm very grateful for those people that'll help me with it, but just there's not enough because Florida has created an environment where filmmakers aren't welcome. They've taken away all the tax cuts and everything, so everyone's flooding back to LA.
Wow.
So yeah, you've got it really good right where you are. You can just pick and choose, just cherry pick. I want this, and this. It's like a buffet. It's like a creative buffet. And here we're just like we're begging, like please just help me. Just like give me any of your experience that you have to help me make this thing possible. And it's unfortunately it kind of like kills your dream almost.
Yeah.
Being on the East Coast, you really need to make that jump to California if you want the best of the best to make something a reality.
Well, I think it's also the fact that I have people that believed in me because I mean, I've met people of all paths in life, and there's amazing people that just don't want to work on your job, and it's as sad as that sounds, it is true. Even with Acid Pink, I shuffled around a couple of people. I think that honestly, it was the thing that it made it work was that I put a lot of responsibility on myself. And I learned a lot of things, you know. I'm a person that if I don't know something, I'll just learn it and I'll just do it. So when I couldn't find an editor, I learned Final Cut and I did it, you know. And that, you know, that like I had an amazing group of people, but if someone wasn't there, I molded myself to be that person. And I think that that's, you know, when the show goes on, you know, like that's how I saw it. It's like, if you don't want to work on it, I'll just find somebody else. I'll do it myself. And honestly, that really worked out because it's if you keep putting excuses on, if I was going to put excuses on it, I really couldn't have been doing it because do not come in. You know, I hired people that were supposed to show up for the day of shooting that did not show up, you know, and it happens. But it's about, well, this person did not show up. How am I going to do it so that it's still a great project? Is it still a great film? What can we change around it, you know? But I see it as a, like, taking cuts or, like, running around it. It's just the way that it should have been done. You know, at the end, if that person wasn't there, it wasn't meant to be. And that's how I always see it. I guess it's like a positive mentality of doing it. I've seen so many producers go crazy over film, and I produced this on my own, you know, and I ran around town and I looked for things, and it was so much fun. The headache was fun.
So since you had to wear so many hats during the production of Acid Pink, were there any particular areas of that you wanted to focus on more in the future? Did you want to produce more than direct or edit more than direct?
Oh, no. Oh, no. You know what? I really enjoy writing my own stuff. Just I think it's because, or writing collaborating with other people would be amazing. Just because I really do think I have interesting ideas. Of course, I can't do everything by myself. It's all a collaboration. But it's right now. It's like I call myself a creative director because I have so much to learn about directing per se. And I did co-direct this. It wasn't me by my own. If it wasn't for Robert, I wouldn't be able to do anything. But directing is amazing. You know, I think that what Robert did to me was he was the in-between me and Chris, who was the DP, and just he took what I had in my mind while I was laying there acting. He took what I had in my mind and turned it into translated to Chris, who was filming it. So I think that was amazing. Honestly, my goal is to create a group of creatives that are able to create films together. I'm not interested in just being a director. I'm interested in having my team. I call us the Suicide Squad that makes films, and I think that's awesome. Because again, we're all antagonists. None of us are perfect. No one in my team is squeaky clean, and I love that. I mean, I'd rather be next to the Joker and Harley Quinn than Superman and Batman any day. And I think that is my goal. My goal is to create with my team. and whatever hats I have to put in or put off, that's fine, as long as I have my team with me, that my Suicide Squad to back me up, and I can make movies.
When you were talking about trying to get something that was in your mind's eye onto camera, what would you communicate to Robert to get him to help you realize that? How'd you go about just like saying, just pulling it out of here and throwing it there?
Well, crazy enough, Robert is as crazy as me. You know, anybody who's ever seen Robert, they'll tell you he's crazy. So that worked out. But once I had to find a new director, I sat down with him, and I pretty much I sent him the script. I read it with him, and I sent him a mood board, showed him all of my inspirations, and literally went like shot by shot of exactly what I wanted. I told them, you know, I want this one shot, I want this to cut, I want this, I want this, that. This is exactly how I want it to feel. I want you to feel this when you're watching it. I want this and this and that. And he magically remembered everything and translated that to Chris. And again, Chris was someone that joined the team, just showed up, and it was amazing, and had no clue what we were doing, but just went with it. It's very shocking for that to happen and for it to come out good, you know. But yeah, if it wasn't for Robert, I definitely would have not been able to do this. It would have looked like an iPhone movie.
Have you started shopping Acid Pink around to the conventions that are going on, or the film festivals?
Well, Acid Pink being such a such a grotesque and like a surreal film, I am still I think my main goal with Acid is getting my name out there and people seeing the style more than anything else. My goal is not to win awards, really. My goal is just to be able to make films, however that may be, however the financing comes. You know, I'm not doing it for anybody but myself, and I'm doing it for the people that watch it too. So I actually started, the way that I started upon it was looking for magazines and looking for outlets that are online that people like you and I can watch. You know, I was reading about this I don't even know if it's real, but it's a website that was banned that now supposedly you can go at one time, like at a certain time at night, and it will come out or whatever. And it's a very scary, intimate like website where you're on your computer and like you are frightened of what you're seeing and whatnot, whatever it is. But I think that feeling of you being connected in your computer at home is so intimate right now in how our society is, than going to the movies and watching something. So I don't think that right now I'm in the position of like sending it out to festivals and this and that. It would be extremely frightening watching Acid Pink at a theater. Extremely frightening. But at the same time, I think it's even more frightening for you to watch it at home at 3 o'clock in the morning with all the lights turned off and you experience it alone at home. So with Acid Pink, I think it's more of like a representation of myself and connecting with my viewers than really shopping it out around. So yeah, I honestly, this is something that I wanna show just to put my name out and my team's name out, because it's a beautiful thing of this that we're starting.
Do you think the content of the film, or the subtext of the film, is going to hit harder now after the election we've gone through and how everything's in disarray, everyone's frightened of everything? Do you think it's going to be even more impactful now than when you first made it?
Well, maybe. But I think that, you know, our society is going to change so much. You know, and fear and beauty, and it's and just film in general, I feel like it's up to so much context, and it's all up to what the person see it. You know, I feel like if I were to try to please everybody and their political beliefs and what they thought about this and that, I would never make a film. You know, it's like You like it, great. You're insulted, I'm sorry. Like I can't really mold about every single person that watches it.
Hmm.
And you know, most people that watch it look at me like, what is this? Really? The cute cycle. And and I think that's more awesome than anything else. You know, as long as I know that you're scared out of your life, and or at least you think that, wow, this was intense, or damn, that's enough for me. It's you know, okay, yeah, you know, it's too much to please everybody.
Yeah, it's difficult. Even when I was on the set of Stranger Things and I was talking to the Duffer Brothers, I was like, how are you going to please the people who are looking for nostalgia and horror? And they said, there's no way we can please everybody. We're just trying to do our best. If there are people that don't like it, then that's just too bad. We did everything we could.
Exactly. And honestly, I think that as long as, and it's weird, as long as I like it and my team like it's we're a group of people that if more than one person and the person who wrote it likes it, that means that something has to be good, you know.
Hmm.
It can't, as long as more than me likes it, it's okay. But at the end of the day, it's all about what makes me happy, you know, and what makes my team happy.
Hmm.
And if that's making a movie that's about, you know, it's like Acid Pink that you just have to watch, then that's it. If it's
Hmm.
making a movie about clowns, that's it. If tomorrow I wake up and I say, I want to do a romantic comedy, and that makes my team happy, that's fine. Don't think that's gonna happen, but if that's what makes us happy, that's what it should be.
Even though we're going to do a review on it soon, is there any place for people to see like a clip of it or a trailer for it?
Well, I'm gonna release it,
Hmm.
and probably around 2 days, I'm gonna release it on Vimeo,
Okay.
and then so that people can watch it with the review. Um, Again, at first I was very secretive about it, just because it's such a shock factor and this and that and this whatever. But at the same time, the more I watch it, I really think it's more of an intimate thing with the viewer than
Hmm.
anything else. And being my first project with like my group of people and my team, I think that that's the best way for me to put it out there, more than just searching for exactly a place.
Hmm.
Um, it, but I do think that there are certain films that I'm gonna have to, as I evolve, to have a plan of where people can watch it and whatnot. But right now, I do really want it to be an intimate thing with people my age, your age, any age to watch it, and again at night and be freaked out. And I think it's an awesome thing. Just it's entertainment.
Well, when you do put it up on Vimeo, will it be under your account or will it be under something else so they could search for it?
My,
Your
my
account? Okay. Okay.
yes.
Um, the other questions I do had was a little bit more centric around um, acting
Mhm.
and in getting into the business.
Mhm.
What first brought you into the entertainment industry?
Well, I moved to Los Angeles when I was 17, from Puerto Rico, and
That's a big
uh,
cultural shift, isn't it?
yeah, for, for sure. Uh, But acting, I mean, acting, what really brought me to act was my love for film.
Hmm.
I film, I would say, saved my life growing up, and it still does. It's an escape from what we're watching in our constant life. And I've always been more amazed by just the creation than the acting itself. I think acting is uh, a beautiful career and I love it. But just film in general is it's wonderful, and that's really what keeps me up at night. It's movies. Um, yeah, it was a cultural shock for sure.
uh, that's another thing. A lot of up and coming actors and actresses, they know they have to make that shift from living in like BFE to moving to California to get where they need to be. And I've heard that living in Los Angeles is not easy. What would be the advice you would give to these up and comers that are getting ready to make that big change?
Well, you know, I think that if that's what you really, really want, you should do it. It's you are not going to be able to achieve it at home. You
Mm-hmm.
know, in Puerto Rico, I acted in Puerto Rico, but it's the industry is very premature. And the truth is, if you want to act, you have to do it in either New York, Puerto Rico, and now Atlanta. It's just a job. You know, it's like everything else. You want to be a doctor, you have to go to college. Um, Definitely LA. It's hard. It's definitely hard. But it is full of creatives, you know, and I would have never found so many people that were willing to work with me or believed in me anywhere else in the world, I feel. Um, but yeah, it's just to take that jump and to trust yourself. I think that's definitely what you have to just keep telling to yourself, that if you're good and you believe in yourself and you keep trying, it's gonna be okay. For me personally, I love acting, but I think that making my own movies gives me the access to my creativity a lot more. And I'm able to work with people, and exploit and take out all of their best work. And that's a big thing. Um, for me, working in team, and I call it my football team, it's it's fantastic. So definitely for me, making that shift now to creating more than anything else has been a blessing.
Did you take any acting classes when you were focused on acting?
Yes, 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 yes. I started taking acting classes in Puerto Rico, and been taking acting classes all my life in LA. More about being in the moment. That's what I learned. The technique that I was taking. I took class with Alan Feinstein, who's brilliant, and you know he had so many Broadway shows and been in so many movies, and that's amazing. With Terrence Malick's son, he's also brilliant. And it's crazy. Acting is definitely a very interesting job, and it's a very interesting career, mental career. And I think that that's what has allowed me to be able to write and do my own work and be able to work with other people has been because of acting. Um, I originally started making this film because I wanted to act on stuff that I actually wanted to be in, because I got bored. You know, it is again. LA is a very tough place, and as awesome as acting is, there's really nothing cooler than acting in something that you really love because it came out of your brain. Um, but I mean, I'm exploring with so many. I'm really excited to put other people on camera and to see what they can do, and explain with other actors, and see how much they are willing to, you know, elevate, or how much I'm willing to help them elevate, you know. And I think all of those things are so exciting to me. It's almost like a new world or a new path, you know.
Mm-hmm.
It's awesome.
What's the toughest thing about directing people?
Well, I think that most people don't trust themselves.
Mm-hmm.
So getting that person to trust themselves, to let themselves go, is definitely the hardest thing. Um, and to It's an ego thing too. You know, you have to keep your own ego down and flourishes other people's too, because it's a collaboration. It's not a it's definitely a teamwork. And directing is that's, I feel like, is the hardest part, because you cannot do it alone.
Mm-hmm.
There's no such thing as you doing a movie by yourself. But it's so much more fun. It's almost like creating a family. Anybody that's been on a film, they can tell you that their film family is wonderful, and I think that's the best thing.
When you're trying to get an actor to let go and open up and tap into that thing they need to give you a good performance, what do you tell them?
Let go,
Just let
let
go.
go, let go, and it's number one, let go and concentrate. It's I really believe in I mean, every actor, if they're being hired to do a job, they're really good. You know, it's just in there, so it's not. You know, I'm the first one to know that. But at the same time, is making them comfortable too, because an actor cannot act if they're not in the right mindset.
Mm-hmm.
that's where you see like, oh, people say, oh, they're treated like stars or this and that. No, is that, you know, the mentality of the actor is key. And if the actor is not in the right mindset, he's not gonna be able to, you know, do the job. And I think understanding that, me being an actress, makes it a lot easier for me to direct other people because I understand that. So I understand what it is to go through an audition. I understand what it is to do this and this and that. I understand all the negativity of the career. So working with another actor, understanding all other things, you have the more patience, and two, you have the capability of elevating their performance once you get more patience. Mm-hmm. So I think that's the beauty of it, and seeing it from putting myself in their shoes makes it a lot easier for sure than going in blinded, you know.
Are there any classes that teach directing style, or is that just something you're just gonna have to learn from experience?
Well, you know, I have taken classes with directors, mm-hmm. or acting teachers. They're also directors, but I really don't think that anything of that helps. You know, mm-hmm. I think it's more of the connection between you and the person, because at the end of the day, you can go to 20 different classes, and who knows? You know, it's all about you and the person that's in front of you and how much you're connecting with them.
Mm-hmm. So people shouldn't go out and buy those directing books and the other things like I did in my 20s, trying to be a film director that did absolutely nothing for me.
Look, I mean, it works for them. That works for them. I cannot read for very long during the day, so maybe it won't work for me. I honestly, what worked for me was just doing it. Mm-hmm. I'd never in my life thought that I was gonna direct ever. I mean, ever. I always saw directing as this like impossible job that has so much task and so much responsibility. I was like, no. But I just did it. You know, it was almost like it was me saying, I'm gonna do this film, mm-hmm. because I have this idea and I have to. I remember I had this fit. I was like, I have to do it by Wednesday. If it's not done by Wednesday, it's the end of the world. It was so funny. But honestly, if it wasn't for that mentality, I would have never done it. So I think it's just the being concentrated is this is my goal and I'm going to do it. And that's all. And just understanding that when you do a film, something is going to go wrong. Mm-hmm. Many things are going to, like, there's no such day as a perfect day of filming at all.
Yeah, Murphy's Law is always going to take effect on a film set. Yeah. Everything's working fine, your camera's fine, the battery's fine, and all of a sudden everything stops working for no reason. It's going to happen. Starts raining in Los Angeles for no reason. It never rains in LA until the day I made a film. I also, what helped me a lot, I interned as a PA. Mm-hmm. And I never thought I would intern as a PA, but I learned so much from interning as a PA. Just because as being an actress all my life, I never thought that, oh my God, these things are needed. You know, this and this and this is needed for creating a film, ever. But I interned for a month before I did Acid Pink, and I learned things of like, okay, so these are the places where I'm going to find my locations, this producer, like just like that mindset of like in the jungle, I need solutions, I have a problem, these are my solutions. So that I did learn a lot by that, and just being on set, not as an actor, but like as an outsider. When you're shooting an interior scene on location, is it easier to do that than to use a soundstage? Which would you prefer to use?
Well, look, Acid Pink, what we did, just because, again, first film, and I really didn't know what I was doing. Mm-hmm. We shot it without sound. The first part, actually, the whole film was shot mute. Mm-hmm. And some stuff, we added a little bit of sound, and then I took it all off. And I did voiceover through the whole thing, because David Adams is... You know, that's his job. He did all the music and sound for my film, and I just trusted him because he's great at what he does. Mm-hmm. So I had that advantage. Honestly, I would love to have a soundstage next time. I would love to do it. I would love to not have to do voiceover again at you know, post production. But if that's what I have to do, it's what I have to do. And honestly, I think that all the sound came out amazing at the end. So I'm still a little bit flustered within both, but I think it's something that I'll learn, you know, as I keep going through and mistakes and this and that. But same with lights. I mean, the lights that I used for this film and everything that they were great lights, but you know, it was one of those things where it's like, I don't know anything about lights. I trusted everything on Chris and Robert, and they did a great job. So it's almost like I'm in a learning process, but I'm very blessed to have a team of people that know what they're doing and then believe in me also, because I think that that's really what makes it happen. You know, they know I'm insane, but they have they have all the professionalism and all the, you know, all the experience to make my insanity into a piece of work, and I think that that's awesome. But yeah, I'm constantly learning for sure, as so are all of us. And my goal is to evolve. You know, my goal is to next year to look at all the things that I've done and realize how much I've evolved. And funny enough, like I get together with my team all the time, and you know, reviewing the next script and everything that we're gonna do with the clowns and all of this craziness is about to happen. And we're already seeing the amount of evolution that's happening as in front of us, lengthwise, story-wise, character-wise. I mean, Acid Pink is all me. Now our next project is gonna be a lot bigger and a lot more complex, and I think it's definitely a task and a struggle, but it's not impossible, you know, and it's so much fun. I feel like it would be bad if I wouldn't want to evolve to the next step for sure.
When are you looking at shooting this this new venture?
Well, we're looking at. I really like hotels. I like hotels. And, I really love old apartment complexes, and I love basements. So that's number one. I'm very in love, very, very in love with Los Angeles at night. Almost like that Drive type of feel, neon demon type of style. But I'm also very in love in New Orleans. I recently traveled to New Orleans and I found so many spots to shoot at. So definitely that's the goal, to shoot in New Orleans in the future, like in the close future. But yeah, Los Angeles, I'm gonna have to use Los Angeles so much because it's right there, you know.
Can you pretty much find everything you need as far as locations in Los Angeles, or like with New Orleans, you can't really get New Orleans in Los Angeles, but can you get pretty much everything else? Can you get a wide variety of places to shoot?
Oh yeah. I mean, I think that being someone that I like simplicity, and I like making what I have the best of it. So I've always had that eye. Even in my apartment, it's funny enough, when way before I thought about directing, again, I'm surrounded by amazing photographers, amazing stylists and models. So way before directing, we were shooting photos, just like, you know, the Instagram huge things that's happening in millennials. And I think that the fact that I'm 22 and I'm a kid. We don't have that accessibility of having that much money or that much, you know, availability of space and locations and all of that. Using what we have and making it amazing is so much better. It's because it has this authenticity. And, you know, Los Angeles is full of so many old buildings and so many, you know, crazy alleys and insane little cities here and there. Then using it to the extreme is wonderful. The other thing is that we are so close to driving to like San Francisco and San Diego and Las Vegas. So there's always like an accessible, like, yeah, you have to take an extra step, but there's so many locations here. It's insane. It's beautiful.
Yeah, because you can have.
I think that's the best thing.
Yeah, Because you have a beach, and then just like I think what it's like a 4 or 5 hour drive to Las Vegas, and then boom, you've got your desert, and you have that tiny oasis in the middle of the desert to shoot in. Here
We even have
we have swamp and beach and swamp, and that's about it. It's great if
we
you
can
want to
make
film a creature feature.
exactly. We can make a swamp monster movie. That's what I'm saying. You see?
There's not enough of those, really. I mean, come to think of it, mainly because we've driven out all the filmmakers. We don't want to help them out anymore. We had the Punisher movie, and that was it. That was our big thing here.
That's amazing.
Yeah, I really wish that that this state would get it together, because just north of us in Georgia, so much goes on, and you have that influx. And what the local politicians don't understand is it brings in so much business. These actors have to eat; they have to get catered. It's a big thing, and I just don't get it. I don't get why we don't like that allure of making films here.
It's very sad. Actually, in Puerto Rico, they're making a lot of films there too. That's definitely another place where I'd love to shoot. Just because Puerto Rico, it could be a very fun place, but there's a lot of scary things about Puerto Rico. As someone living there and growing up there, it is not an easy place. And there's again, being an antagonist. I think that's the number one thing that I learned about being an antagonist is the survival. The survival of being a human makes you an antagonist. And if it wasn't for Puerto Rico, I wouldn't never, ever be able to tap into that. So I definitely want to shoot in Puerto Rico. And I know they're taking the taxes back and whatever, and it's amazing. And a lot of people are shooting there now. But that's definitely a goal, you know, totally bringing my team to Puerto Rico and shooting something amazing there. So that's definitely in the works too.
What are some of those scary things? We have a big Puerto Rican population here in Florida, but we don't hear that much about Puerto Rico itself. A lot of Puerto Ricans never want to talk about it. So,
interesting. Well, first of all, crime is a very intense thing in Puerto Rico. Poverty is a very scary thing in Puerto Rico too. And superstition is a huge thing in Puerto Rico. I mean, we come from a huge voodoo, witch, black magic island. And that's not something that people talk about that much, but my family comes from that, you know? So all of those things, I mean, we have a huge alien belief. It's true. People think that there's aliens underwater in Puerto Rico and lies, you know? It's crazy as it seems, all of those things. We have this huge tropical rainforest where people get lost all the time. And they are, you know, and people just disappear. So Puerto Rico can be a very scary place. And if you come from there and you know all these tales, and there's, you know, chupacabra and all these things that for us growing up was a very real thing. Yes, it has been commercialized and this and that, but I don't think that people have really seen what fear is in our eyes when we talk about it. You know, what really scary stories are in Puerto Rico, because coming from an island that it is Americanized, but at the same time, there is a lot of poverty, and there is, like, if you walk alone in the street at night and, you know, and the chupacabra comes in, you're pretty screwed, you know? No cop is gonna come save you, you know? It's different, you know? So I think coming from that background, and it's not saying that Puerto Rico is super, like, you cannot live there, blah, blah, blah. No, it's just that, you know, coming from a family in Puerto Rico, it's a different type of scary.
I guess Americans don't really have a whole lot. I mean, we have our superstitions, but we don't have it where it's so culturally compact. Since we're such a big melting pot, we get everything, and it kind of becomes diluted. And I think it seems like an interesting thing that we should bring more over here and focus on for film.
Oh yeah.
It doesn't. I mean, you had the Chupacabra movies where it just kind of like it turned it into a parody, but it never takes a good hard look like Voodoo. I can't remember a serious Voodoo movie since Serpent and the Rainbow.
Indeed.
That's really the last one, and then it just became kind of like who cares?
No, Voodoo's very scary. I mean, I grew up two different places that I lived at. Next to me, there were voodoo chanters and voodoo neighbors. And again, my family comes from it. It's a very scary thing, and it's very evil. And I think it's very real too because it still happens. You know, it's a very normal thing to a lot of families. So I think that that's definitely a theme that I for sure want to tap in, just because I don't think that a lot of people talk about it, to be honest. It's almost like one of those things where even in Puerto Ricans, we all know it's there, but it's almost like a something that it's like a secret, you know?
If you were, let's say for a hypothetical that you were to make a movie that were to focus on those superstitions and voodoo, how would you tackle it in a way that's respectful of the belief, but also using it to scare people, or whatever theme you're trying to go with a movie?
Well, you know, I really like making the audience feel like identified. I really like making the audience feel identified. So making you understand why the character's doing what they are doing, and making you not want to judge the character, I think is the best way for it to be done. Because if you fall for the antagonist, you understand the antagonist, and that being so, that will make the film not, you know, disrespectful for them to do this, because they do this for a reason. It's a belief that comes for centuries and centuries. There is a reason why people believe in Catholicism. There's reason why people believe in Mormonism. There's a reason why people do voodoo. It's the same thing. So I think that it's a very delicate to do it right. It's a very delicate theme, but it's an amazing theme. You know, if you treat it that way, I think that that's the best way to do it. For sure.
Oh yeah, there's a lot of like misconceptions about voodoo. Being a white guy, I of course don't know that much about it, so I would go with the stereotypical things that we see about voodoo. What are some of those things that don't get translated over to here that would be scary, or are kind of like shatter those stereotypes that we have about voodoo?
Well, voodoo is more to protect your family. A lot of people don't see that. You know, a lot of families really do believe that this is the only way to protect their family and protect themselves. And just like people pray to God, there's people that pray to other things, and it's the same thing. As crazy as it might sound, some people really do believe that if they don't buy like this crazy saint's candle that really means the love of God, the love of some crazy God, they won't feel love, you know. And I think it's a very beautiful thing if you see it that way, you know. And it is a lot of misconception. A lot of people think it's dark, and it's very dark, but it's understanding also. You know, there's people that have gone through a lot of things. There's people that never let go of their lovers, and then they really do believe that through voodoo they will find their lover again. And for a lot of people, they think it's mumbo jumbo, but imagine being in those shoes. You know, imagine living that and thinking that is the only way to do it.
I guess a lot of people kind of dismiss it because we're so Christian centric that's what we follow. So
exactly.
All these other things, they don't matter to us because we don't follow it. But to those people, that is very real and very powerful. And I think that's something that just we don't see enough of. We don't see enough of that represented in films to show how powerful these beliefs are to these people in these situations, in these areas. I'd actually like to really see that explored more.
No, for sure. Honestly, Acid Pink, it does tap into that a little bit, just because, you know, a lot of the times where I was alone in my home at 3 in the morning, I was in my grandmother's house, you know, and it does, like, when you watch the film, and now that, you know, all of you guys know that, you know, I do come from a family that used to do voodoo, I think it's even more understanding, because, you know, it's when you're in that position where, you know, my family then converted into Catholicism, you know, but that they stayed in the same house for so many years, there are still some beliefs of, oh, there's a presence in the house that's whispering to you 3 in the morning. and that's
Hmm.
frightening. Just to think that. Or living, I lived in an apartment where my neighbor was heavily into voodoo, and I used to go to sleep at night and hear them chanting and killing pigeons. Like that's something that's very real.
Hmm.
And I that those are that is definitely a huge influence on what acid pink is. So.
I was just thinking about, like, since you converted to Catholicism, it's almost, it's there are a lot of parallels, because there are a lot of rituals that Catholics do that I'm pretty sure that also happen in the Voodoo religion. You have your Hail Marys, and the number of times that you have to pray, and then trying to be absolved of all your sins by going and sitting in a little box next to another guy in a little box and telling him all the bad stuff you just did.
Yep.
And it seems like that they almost go hand in hand, because they are so, I don't want to say superstitious, but they just have these, like, very interesting things they have to do.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. They're all scary. They're both scary. I remember the first film that I watched growing up. And again, I give all of my like my love for horror to my family, because they were horror freaks growing up. But the first horror film that I remember watching was, I don't even remember which one it was, about like this. I just remember like a church and a demon, and I don't know what the hell that whatever, but it was frightening, and
Hmm.
it is a frightening theme. Also, Catholicism is religion can be very, very frightening.
Hmm.
It just that I was blessed to go through so many because of my family, that I experienced different types of horror.
Hmm.
Really.
So basically, you have this giant lexicon of religious things and horror things that you could just kind of all mix up and give us something amazing.
It's
Which is,
fun.
I'm hoping that's what I'm going to watch next week. Now you've built me up to it. Now I'm going to expect the world from you.
God, but it's fun. I mean, I think that it could be, especially with acid pink, because it is some people have told me it's maybe a little bit surreal or this
Hmm.
and that. That is really left to the viewer and their imagination, and that's exactly what I wanted to create. Because at the end of the day, fear is up to you.
Hmm.
I can show you a demon as much as I want to show you, but at the end of the day, it's between you and your imagination.
Hmm.
We all have those stories we tell our friends, about that time that we saw this and that time we felt this and blah 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 blah. We all do. I really have not met one person that hasn't, and I think that that's the wonderful thing of it. It's really psychological.
Hmm.
Um, and everyone has a different perspective of it. I personally have a very religious sense of it, because I'm Latina, and my culture is very, very heavily religious.
Hmm.
So is my family. So I do have a lot of religious influences in my work, as much good or bad as it might be, or how it might tap into you and what religion
Hmm.
I might use, but definitely, because for me, that was the biggest fear, was what's gonna happen if I sin, like what's
Hmm.
like, my God, who's gonna come for me, So I that's a it's a scary, scary real thing.
Yeah, because I think what a lot of people don't understand when we review movies, movies are art, and art is
Hmm.
subjective. So we're all going to take something different away from it. Which, when we get backlash because we review a movie good or bad or indifferent, what people don't understand when we give those ratings is that it's the way we feel.
Hmm.
Of course, we'll judge things on, like, was the cinematography good, was the sound good, but what did we ultimately take away from it? Uh, I come from a different background than you. I mean, I'm just grew up in a podunk town in Florida, and I converted to Buddhism 16 years ago, and but I for 9 months I traveled the world, and I saw a lot of very different things and encountered different cultures. So I think I can take something away from it that other people won't. And it'll be interesting to see, as these reviews roll out, what people take away from something that is coming from someone who has such a background as yours. What we're all going to see, and I hope that I take away something that's very powerful. I don't want to be
Yeah.
built up for it, but the way you are describing it and the way that the amount of effort and of yourself you put into it, it sounds like it's going to be something unlike something I've seen before out of a short film.
No, you haven't seen anything like this for
Hmm.
sure. I mean, that's definitely if something I can say is that I've never seen anything like it. I mean, it's a lot of influences from a lot of things, and it's a
Hmm.
lot of me. Yeah, it's definitely. I mean, hey, it's not everybody's cup of tea. Not
Hmm.
everybody likes horror films. Not everybody likes feeling uncomfortable.
Hmm.
Um, but it is something very, very different. It's something very contrasting, and it will make you feel something. And honestly, to me, as long as you feel something, being good or bad, I've reached my goal. Because goal as creating films is for you to forget everything that's happening with your life and just focus on that one thing that you're watching, being good or bad. It being like I might make you want to scream, I might make you want to cry, but at least you're not thinking about what you were thinking before you watched the movie.
Hmm.
That's and I think that Acid Pink does do that. It is a very you have to be for it to work it's a movie that you need concentration and it will frighten you if so. I do recommend watching it at night. I recommend watching it dark because it does do the full effect there. It should make you feel as if you're alone at home watching it
Hmm.
and scared.
I think that's the perfect wrapping up point. Because you're releasing in 2 days. It's the Thanksgiving holiday week. So people, when they're tired of dealing with their families and it's late at night and they're stuffed and they're sitting there, and I think they should just boot it up and see what happens. I mean, full of turkey and fear. It's a wonderful combination.
For sure. Turkey and fear. Yes.
Turkey and fear is the tagline for your beautiful film.
Indeed.
Val, thank you very much for
Thank you.
putting up with these questions and my probing of your beliefs and your culture. I appreciate it. And Acid Pink coming out in a couple days. It'll be available everywhere. We will have a review for it up next week, which is Thanksgiving week. And thank you very much. If you have any final wisdom for our viewers, you are more than welcome to expunge it.
Just do whatever makes you happy and explore it to your fullest, honestly. If as long as it makes you happy, you will do great things. And I really I want everyone that's my age, a lot of kids to just start creating and start making amazing things. And hey, shock me, you know? I hope that I shock you. Shock me next time.
All right, Val, thank you very much, and have a good weekend. Have a safe holiday, and we'll see you soon.
You.
All
Thank you.
right. Bye bye.
Bye.